What's up, y'all? It's Bonk. In this video, I will give you the knowledge necessary to turn into an AC-130 with my Kitgun Pocket Nuke build. Before we get into that, I am struggling to find a free and reliable website for AI voices. If you have any suggestions, please let me know in the comments. Now, the introduction of Kitguns was from the 24.0 update, the same update that introduced Fortuna. These beginning Kitguns were alright, but nothing to praise about. However, when the next open world update was introduced, Deimos, these Kitguns were able to be revitalized and brought to new heights. Yet what ended up happening, which is very common for most items that get an update or change, people had already written the weapon off because they were busy using the weapons they already had. This statement, however, is not true for the Ketchmoon, because people adored this weapon, and it was said by many that it was the king of secondary weapons. Being overwritten and then overshadowed by the Ketchmoon, the Spore Lacer build was never recognized or really even given the time of day to even be seen as good. This changed when Faceless Beanie on YouTube uploaded a video demonstrating the Haymaker, Spore Lacer, and Splat Part combo and how effective it is against enemies. Even through the test of time where many other weapons and builds have fallen compared to newly introduced weapons like Incarnens, the Spore Lacer secondary still stands tall on its own made throne. Now, enough with the introduction of the weapon, let's talk about builds. For this video, as you can see, I will mainly be using Revenant to showcase that you really don't need someone like Rhino with his Nourish and Roar combo. However, that build still applies to this weapon and is very powerful. I only have Roar subsumed onto Revenant, but in factual speaking, Eclipse would probably be more of a damage increase than Roar would be. You also don't need any shards. I only have these for quality of life improvements like parkour velocity and such. The Revenant goes as such just mod for strength and duration. I use his Mesmer Shield augment so that I can provide allies with Mesmer skin as well. Natural talent is just quality of life too for more casting speed, so we don't have to wait through his long-lasting second ability animation. The Aura mod is literally anything that you want, but I find that Energy Siphon seems to be the most efficient in my testing. Lastly, we have the two Arcanes, which is Arcane Velocity, which is pretty necessary but not absolutely needed. It is simply for fire rate. And Molt augmented for more strength. This also is a flex arcane slot. Heading out of Revenant's build, you can see I am using the Phantasma Prime. This weapon is not needed because you could use any heat damage primary, but I choose to go with this weapon because of its synergy with Revenant. The extra 3 bullets matter. I will not explain the build, but here it is if you want to pause and copy. Finally, we have the Kitgun. This build is very optimized and requires quite a lot of investment if you can already see by the 8 forma. I am using Cascadia Flare because of the synergy with the primary weapon I have chosen, which is a heat weapon. This synergy makes it so that you can use your primary. And then when an Acolyte spawns, you can take out your Pocket Nuke and just tap the Acolyte because your Cascadia Flare damage is already maxed out. The elements of this weapon will be corrosive and heat. Now, if you want to use Cascadia Flare, yet you want to use the Kitgun for mob slaying rather than your primary, then you can replace one, if not both, of the corrosive mods for the lower damage 60/60 mods. Totally up to you. I find that you don't really need to replace them anyways. After those mods, we just have the basic weapon mods almost every weapon has, which is the crit mods, which are important because of the exactly 100% crit chance and the staggering 8.1 crit multiplier. Hornet Strike could also be replaced with a reload mod or even Fulmination for lower level mob killing, up to you again. Lastly, Lethal Torrent and Galvanized Diffusion are pretty necessary for the multi-shot and the fire rate boosts. The Exilis slot is the biggest flex slot, however I choose to go with Lethal Momentum for just quality of life. But if you don't have the Pax Charge Arcane, then you can use either Eject Magazine for reloading while holstered, or Pistol Ammo Mutation for when you are using the weapon primarily for mass mob slaying. Like I said earlier, Cascadia Flare is the best thing you could use in most cases. However, Primary Merciless could also be used for the reload speed, or if you don't have Cascadia Flare. The melee weapon is a flex slot. You could either use the Vastilok for higher level Acolyte armor stripping or the Praetos for parkour velocity, totally up to you. The companion, like always, is the Nautilus for the grouping ability it has. I won't explain the build, but here it is if you want to pause and copy. This build I find to be very versatile. Even if you didn't want to use a primary weapon, the Kitgun is very overpowered, yet underrated. Everything you could possibly need from a weapon the Spore Lacer secondary probably has it. The thing I most love, however, is the Acolyte killing attribute this weapon naturally has. As always, I hope this video helped you with your very own build, because I feel like this weapon needs more praise. It would be so kind if you were to tap the like button, or even subscribe, if you want to help me on my journey into Warframe content creation. If there's any misinformation in this video, or if you want to add any tips, please leave a comment for me to read. Again, thank you and have a blessed day.